All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're jumping into a concept that's, well, it's quietly shaking up manufacturing. It's called Digital Kaizen. You know, it takes this classic philosophy of always getting better and mashes it up with the horsepower of Industry 4.0. So the real question is, what happens when you put those two together? How does it actually supercharge a business? Let's dig in.
Okay, so to really get where we're heading, we've got to look back at where this all began, right? Before all the digital bells and whistles, there was this incredibly powerful philosophy. I mean, this was the engine for efficiency for decades.
And at the very heart of it all is Kaizen. You've probably heard of it. It came out of the legendary Toyota production system. And the idea is actually pretty simple. Just make small, constant, relentless improvements. The whole point? To hunt down and just obliterate waste. Any kind of waste. To drive up quality and bring down costs. It's about creating a culture where literally everyone, from the person on the assembly line to the execs in the corner office, has the power to make things just a little bit better every single day.
But, and this is the big question, right? Classic Kaizen is, without a doubt, powerful. But it's really all about human observation. So what happens when you take that brilliant human spirit and give it a massive tech upgrade? What happens when you hook that engine of continuous improvement up to a fire hose of data?
And that right there is where the old school meets the new school. Look, we're not talking about some sci-fi, far-off future stuff here. We're talking about what's happening right now when you plug a time-tested methodology into today's tech.
So, here's the huge leap forward. You know, with classic Kaizen, you might picture a manager with a stopwatch and a clipboard. And hey, it's effective, but it's totally manual and reactive. Digital Kaizen? Completely different ballgame. It's all about sensors, grabbing data automatically, software analyzing it in real time, and AI making predictions. The whole mindset just flips, you know? It goes from, uh-oh, what just broke, to, okay, how do we stop this from ever breaking in the first place?
Now, let's be super clear about this. This is not about throwing out decades of wisdom from Lean and Kaizen. It is not a rip and replace kind of deal. Think of it more like giving a superhero a new power. It's about taking that proven system and giving it, well, digital superpowers. The culture of improvement, that stays. It's just amplified with way, way better tools.
Okay, so that's the theory. But how does this actually work on a real shop floor? I mean, what's inside this new digital toolkit? Let's pop the hood and take a look.
Really, it all boils down to a pretty simple but incredibly powerful three-step cycle. First, you connect. You use industrial IoT sensors to create this living, breathing digital twin of your whole operation. Then, you analyze. Software just churns through that flood of data, spotting the hidden problems, the bottlenecks you just never see with the naked eye. And finally, you act. Smart systems can then automatically tweak a process on the fly or ping a person to take a super specific, data-backed action.
And a great way to think about these core technologies is like they're a team, or even parts of a body. The Industrial Internet of Things, or IIoT, that's like the factory's nervous system. It's constantly feeling things, sensing, collecting signals. Big data analytics, that's the brain. It's processing everything, trying to make sense of it all. And then you have AI and robotics. Those are the muscles, actually taking intelligent action based on what the brain figured out. You put them all together, and you get a smart factory that can literally learn and adapt on its own.
So, all this tech sounds really impressive, right? But what does it mean for the bottom line? What's the actual payoff? Well, the good news is we don't have to guess. We can look at some hard numbers from a real-world project run by you and I.
So, this project tracked real, tangible benefits across three main areas. You know, saving work time, boosting quality, and of course, financial gains. But honestly, a couple of the specific numbers that came out of this are just kind of mind-blowing. Let's start with this one.
A 30% drop in the amount of time the planning department had to spend on, well, planning. Just think about that for a second. And this wasn't about making people work harder. Not at all. It's because the system just handled all the tedious data gathering and number crunching. And that freed up the planning team to stop being, glorified data entry clerks and to start being actual strategists, to focus on making things better instead of just managing paperwork.
And then you've got this one. This is huge. Certain manual, repetitive, frankly boring tasks were 100% automated gone. Now, that does not mean 100% of people lost their jobs. No way. It means 100% of those specific tasks were taken over by machines. This lets you move your most valuable asset, your people, to work on bigger challenges. Things like innovation, creative problem solving, all the stuff that machines, just can't do.
So, okay, what's the big takeaway from all this? If you're running a business, how do you even begin to get on this path without feeling totally overwhelmed by all the tech?
I think what makes this whole approach so powerful is that it's actually accessible. You don't have to bulldoze your factory and build a new one. No, you improve the systems you already have. You can start small, with a pretty low investment, maybe focusing on just one single process. And because it brings everybody into the fold, it makes this whole scary idea of Industry 4.0 feel way less intimidating. It's not one giant risky leap. It's a bunch of small, smart, manageable steps.
And that really brings us to a final, pretty powerful thought, straight from that UN Ideal report. Digital Kaizen, it's not the intimidating, super expensive finish line of a smart factory. It's the practical, affordable, and totally achievable first step on that path. It kind of democratizes this whole digital revolution, right? It puts it in reach for just about any company that's willing to combine a classic idea with modern tools. So when you look at it that way, the real question isn't can we afford to do this? It's can we really afford not to?